Don't fall. Don't fall. You're okay, right? You're okay. What's up, beautiful people? Hoping you're having a fantastic day. Today is a beautiful day in the neighborhood because it is finally getting warmer in the New England area, enough to go outside without a jacket. People at work like to joke that I never take off my jacket, and that's because it's always cold, so I don't understand. They think 75 degrees is like fine. Today we're going to be talking about some of the projects that I'm looking forward to doing as soon as the weather looks good and I have a good weekend to knock them all out. So with spring coming, everybody wants to get back outside in some capacity. So this time of year, whenever we're getting into the spring season, it always comes to figuring out excuses to be outside when you don't have places to go. I like to default towards making projects that typically make sense to do outside. So I thought today I'd go through some of the projects I'm looking forward to getting into. I'm gonna definitely try and film as much as I can so I can bring you along as far as the making process on any of these things goes. So just talking about some of the projects that I've knocked out over the past year, we're gonna dive into some of our old projects. And I'll try and get some really nice diagrams that'll pop up right here in this area, in this space. So bam, the first thing we're gonna talk about is the cat scratching post. It was probably the first thing that I tried making in woodworking without like detailed instructions on exactly how to do it. Overall, we just kind of roughed it and figured we could probably knock this out in 20 minutes. It took maybe an hour to do the first cat scratching post, and most of it was just putting together the carpet because the carpeting looks amazing. So our cat does enjoy the cat scratching post, and I really enjoyed making it. And the other things we tried to make this year was the cat water fountain. You can kind of see it over here in the corner. But the problem we ran into is that when you're talking about drinking water for a living thing, you only want to use, you know, human food rated things. And we couldn't really get a good mix and products that would state that 100% clear. This is for drinking water. We figured we could probably save money doing it, but we ended up just buying a new one. And you know what? It's fantastic. I love it. It has a filter built in. We did do it. It's physical. Made it work, couldn't stop it from leaking, and we're just gonna move on from there. The last cat-related item that we made this year is just one of the cat feeders. It's been pretty fun training her on it. It's definitely an interesting item. It works pretty well, especially for the trees that we have, and for the cat we have, she enjoys it. She knocks it around every once in a while whenever she gets hungry, and she does use it, so I'll take that as a personal win. So for the non-cat items that we have two big contenders the previous couple of months. The first is painting our dresser. Our room definitely has, or we would like it to have, kind of a modern look to it. So some of the items need to come off as like a grayish or blackish, and that's kind of what we were going for. We looked into just getting a brand new dresser, but you know, those always get expensive, and paint is significantly cheaper. So we decided to just paint it out. We figured we'd buy enough paint in order to hit up a couple of the different items that are in our bedroom, and that way we get a nice consistent furniture basis where we can add more things to it, as well as it all looks nice and new when we don't really have to pay that much for it. The last major item is actually two different items. So we wanted a coffee shelf, something to kind of hold all of our mugs and coffee related items that go above our coffee maker. The first way we went about it is to try and put together a floating shelf, which we saw in a different YouTube video, which I'll try and link in the description down below. They made a really amazing piece. It seemed ultra simple when they were going through it, and it was definitely a straightforward process and product. It was easy to find the materials. It was relatively cheap. However, it was warped like nobody's business. There are two factors that went into this ridiculous amount of warping. The first is that we didn't use exactly the best quality wood that we could find for this shelf. We just used whatever wood we found at Lowe's, and we didn't even really look through all of the choices that we had to make sure like it was in the center and that the grains were proper and all that fun stuff that you learn after the fact. We didn't really do any of that. It wasn't important to us. What was important was getting the shelf up in a reasonable period of time, which was the second problem. It took significantly longer to get through the full process because we were going in the correct order. If you do things in the exact order, or in the order of operations that is listed out in instructions, it takes probably like 4 or 5 times longer than it typically would. And you should be stacking pretty much anything that you can do to minimize the amount of time taking things out, doing the things, then putting everything back before starting the next process. And that's something I had to learn for my first, all wood build like this. So the problem with waiting a long time with this one is that the wood itself is going to absorb and evaporate water depending on the concentration in the air. And especially once you have fresh cut edges, it's just gonna let the water go and take it in, whatever it can do. Structurally, it was perfectly fine. It was very sound connection to the wall. It was up there. It was big enough and it worked for a little while. But we decided we wanted something that was longer. We wanted something that felt good to put breakable things on top of. Basically, we wanted to tone down the fancy and increase the structural rigidity. So we put together another shelf, and it's just a couple of brackets, a piece of wood, sealed, knock it out. It probably took me 40 minutes total to actually put the whole thing together, not including the wait time between just the different sealing. I started it in the morning on Super Bowl Sunday, and it was up before kickoff and ready to hold cups. So I was ecstatic about that. I would actually sit on this one because I know what the rating is of the brackets that we chose, but it also looks pretty nice. And we're gonna add a couple of different features to that as well. When it comes to some of the newer projects that we're looking at this year, we have a variety, some mix of the previous projects to kind of lead in to make sure that we're in the process. We know how those go, so they won't take much time. And a couple of newer items using different types of materials that I haven't really touched before. So I'm looking forward to learning a lot, similar to my beautiful warped floating shelf. That was an experience. The first is going to be some additional shelves. So exactly the same construction as the one we have upstairs. Maybe painted, but we're not really looking to get really fancy with it. We're just looking for the storage space. You can't go wrong with storage pretty much. Other shelves just kind of allow us to use some of the raw materials we have left over from previous projects, as well as it just diversifies the amount of space we have to store things that we obviously need a lot because they don't gather dust on shelves. So we're looking forward to that. In addition to those shelves, we're going to make some cat shelves or cat stairs that go all the way up into heaven. So this is just a different way to allow our cat to experience various terrains inside the house. We're going to allow her to jump on top of these shelves, an area where she can perch and dominate us as all cats do all of their owners. Another thing we need to do when it comes to the cat shelves is secure the bookcase, because now a cat might be jumping onto it because there's going to be significant elevation for her to do that. So just making sure that gets hooked up to the back area, secured to the back wall so it doesn't shake around too much. And another oldie but goodie is going to be painting some bookshelves instead of dressers. So we have two bookshelves they're just worn. One's just a wood color, another one's a tingy greenish bluish color, and we're looking at getting those nice and consistent colors in order to add to our collection of furniture that is now of the same color. One just overall fix that I'd like to make in spring is our old entertainment center, which I think was $70-something at Target. Back when I lived in Houston. One of the legs just broke off on it. It's not quite as simple as just gluing it back together. You gotta put some hooks into it. Disassembling the entertainment center, putting it up outside, screwing everything back together, making sure all the connections are good, and then putting it all back together. And just an overall rehab of our entertainment setup. So we have a bunch of wires that go everywhere, like 3 different devices that are just not turned on right now. So making sure that all of them are functional, have a place, buy some equipment to make sure that they get plugged into where they need to go. And making sure that all of the stuff that's there is either being used or being sold. So the next couple are absolutely new to us. They get inspiration from Evan and Katelyn's previous videos. They used to be avid makers who sold things, and I think that was really awesome. The first thing we're looking at doing from Evan and Katelyn's videos is coasters. We're looking at potentially making some coasters to use around our house, and if they seem pretty good quality, we'll make some custom ones for gifts for friends, see how they enjoy it. And that's pretty much the extent at what we're looking at doing at this point. So if we can make some really good silicone molds and make some coasters out of it, I'm gonna call that a win. The other idea we had, and it's not really fleshed out yet, it's a CATIO. Cat patio. Something for Evie to walk outside and enjoy the breeze. And the problem with it right now is because we're renters, we don't necessarily own the property, so we can't make structural changes. So if we're going to be screwing, we have to make sure it can come apart. We also have to make sure that it's structurally rigid. I'm sure we can figure it out. It's not going to be a big deal. So those are two things that we're looking forward to doing that are completely new. I have not done anything with silicone molds before, and concrete is very, very limited. I've only messed with concrete for work. And maybe we could just use some of the brackets that we have left over for all those shelves we're going to build. Those are kind of the projects we're looking forward to this coming spring. As soon as it gets over 50, we're going to be out there messing with all of these. Let me know if you have any projects coming up this year and you're super excited about doing anything outside, getting that sunlight, enjoying the photosynthesis. That's not how we eat. And let me know if you want to know more about these projects. We're going to, of course, post after photos of all of them so that you can see exactly what they look like when I'm done, because I am a craftsman. That was a joke. Let me know if you'd like to see full-on tutorials about any of the products that are coming out. Most importantly, hit the like button, and if you're new here and you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell to get all the updates on our family, fitness, and finance-centered goals. Thank you for watching. Bye. I hope you liked the haircut. It took me all of 5 minutes. All of 5 minutes.